What the just happened? I sat down to watch Robert Eggers' Nosferatu, and after about 40 minutes of ads, I felt like I was losing my damn mind. But before the movie actually finally started, a trailer began. I quickly realized that it was for the new 28 Days Later sequel. I didn't really like the first film of this soon-to-be trilogy, but I really respect Danny Boyle as a director, and Alex Garland is one of my favorite science fiction writers of all time. So I gave it a shot. But my interest quickly transformed into something I can't describe well. Oh wait, I can. I was feeling pure pants-shitting terror. The trailer for 28 Years Later is a shining example of how to craft a teaser that not only grips the viewer, but also leaves enough unknown to stoke anticipation. Every element of this trailer has been meticulously designed to evoke a visceral reaction, offering a blend of beauty, terror, and intrigue. This might be my new favorite horror trailer of all time, and maybe my new favorite movie trailer, period. We open in a cozy British home. A group of children surround a TV screen playing Teletubbies. We see a woman, likely a motherly figure, enter and tell the children not to leave the room. We can already guess that we are seeing the start of the outbreak. The film quickly cuts across several shots of the house being attacked and the family likely slaughtered. We see this church from the first film, now with high-quality cameras. This now sets the trailer during the events of the second film, 28 Weeks Later, before cutting to an isolated island on which lives a farming community. This is when the music or reading begins, and hold up just a second, we'll get to the poem in a moment. We see graves, implying that this community has survived the outbreak long enough to properly bury their dead. This community brings to mind plague-era Europe and the casually terrifying existence of being a farmer during that time. It was a moment where death was always around the next corner, a silent, invisible darkness that kills without warning or discrimination. We see this scarecrow-looking thing that looks like some kind of Christ-like standard with an arrow-looking thing stuck into its head. It looks more like a Grim Reaper than anything, but regardless, it's a haunting image. This now contextualizes the film in taking place in a world completely changed by this apocalypse, a world sent back to the Dark Ages, crawling in the mud, scared of every shadow. We see a board with drawings on them. These are the jobs that people have on the island, drawn in surprising detail for a post-apocalyptic world. But the last image on this board is of the Watchtower. Unlike the other drawings, this one doesn't imply the role of those up in the tower. It just reads Watchtower rather than, say, Seamster. The drawing isn't as detailed as the others. It looks more like a rough sketch than a professional drawing, implying the perhaps macabre nature the Watchtower represents. Then we actually see the Watchtower, which is positioned on what looks like a smaller island, likely off the coast of the main one. We see spears or harpoons, some kind of defensive weaponry guarding the island. We see a close-up shot of the Watchtower and the barbed wire around it. Then there is a stone building or farmhouse upon which is written, "Behold, he is coming with the clouds." This is a biblical verse from Revelations. It speaks about the second coming of Christ, which makes sense in an apocalypse. We see Aaron Taylor Johnson and Alfie Williams walking through the town, which to be honest looks pretty fine considering everything that's going on outside. We then see our pair leaving the safety of the walls to venture out into the mainland. This shot is framed with a shaking camera and appears to be filmed from much farther away. This gives this shot a voyeuristic feel, like the characters are being watched as soon as they step foot outside. Then we see them traveling along some kind of road connecting the island to the rest of the mainland. The next shot is of them moving around, deep in the wilds of the mainland. They are using bow and arrows, which immediately places them at a disadvantage to the dangers lurking around them. They have no guns, most bullets having been used up in the almost 3 decades-long apocalypse. We see our two protagonists watching something off in the distance, their faces filled with sudden terror. We know what they are looking at, and we are already composing an image of what these zombies could look like. And then we get this. This for me is the most chilling image in the entire trailer. These 8 figures are clearly some kind of infected. What is so terrifying is how human they look. They aren't shambling toward us, they are running, wobbling around in a distorted gait that reminds you of the Titans from Attack on Titan. What is so scary about them is how the shot is framed. We can see nothing about the monsters other than their human shapes. The creatures don't appear to be wearing any clothes, which makes them even more otherworldly, a group of naked strangers racing toward us. Unlike most horror films, this scene takes place in the middle of the day, giving the image an extra level of power as it breaks how the viewers think about horror. Then we see Johnson and Williams running into a farmhouse, maybe the one we saw the Bible verse written on. They break into the building and see a man tied upside down with his face covered. Upon finding the man, the shaking camera remains until they realizes that this guy poses them no threat. The man has been brutalized, his body covered in cuts and blood, and he appears to have been left in this house for a long while. Carved onto his chest 3 times is the letter W or M, depending on if he was hanging upside down when he was cut. I don't know what these could mean, but I doubt that they're pointless. At this point, the camera steadies, and we get a moment of calm as William looks down at the body with sadness. But, as we all know it would, the body jerks, not truly dead. Having been upside down this long, this person is likely dead, and this sudden jolt of life implies that this person was taken over by the rage virus. Next, we see a person wearing a mask we saw on the Scarecrow before. It looks almost like a war mask, probably something worn by an important figure in the community. It moves toward us, giving us a good scare before we process that this is just a person wearing a mask. We see people operating the weapons we saw at the watchtower, pointing their bolts and lights into the darkness. Then we see Johnson and Williams running through the water, trying to escape whatever is following them. Then we see what they are running from. A massive man, its body bloated but still strong. This person is huge, a giant of a human, a new kind of threat that doesn't appear in most zombie media. We see Williams hugging someone, probably a mother of some kind. Then we see soldiers turning to face an unknown threat. Next is a puzzling image. We see some kind of bestial human, hunched in the forest, some kind of ditch. The body of this person is rotting, ripped and cracked with age. You can even see the person's bald head. This might be the large man chasing our protagonist, but I doubt it. The level of age on their bodies doesn't match up. This gives a primordial feel to these creatures. They're not just people, they've changed. Next we see Aaron Taylor Johnson standing on some mountain wearing cold weather clothes. We see a silhouetted figure standing on this mountain. While this could be Johnson, I doubt it. It's likely an affected due to the framing of the shot. It is a sibling of the first silhouette shot. This almost has a biblical feel. A creature on the height of the world calling up to the sky above it. We see 3 soldiers moving down a dark hallway with headlamps. Then they are attacked by some monstrous creature, probably the large zombie our pair of protagonists was running from. Now we see the strangest thing in the entire trailer. A forest of bones, pillars of death, and at the center a spire of human skulls. This is where we get to see Ray Fiennes, who looks completely insane. This image is striking, unlike anything we've seen before. Is it inside the community or out in the wilds? We don't have the context to know. It displays a massive and cataloged history of humanity's slow death. Once again, it almost gives a religious feel. Next we see Johnson running from infected, intercut with Williams being held aloft through a crowd of people, the madness of the monsters and humans blending together as the sound levels begin to peak. Next we see some vague and ominous images, as well as our first zombie, which looks like Cillian Murphy's Jim, who has sadly met his end. We see some more dangerous interactions, and one guy getting pulled up out of sight to a likely death. And then the trailer ends, a heart-pounding edit of a hopefully terrifying film. But it's the sound of this trailer that makes it so effective. The visuals and editing are chilling. What has made this trailer stick in the minds of so many is its use of Rudyard Kipling's poem Boots, which adds thematic depth and emotional resonance to an already harrowing narrative of this outbreak. Kipling's poem, with its hypnotic cadence and imagery of relentless, dehumanizing struggle, aligns perfectly with the tone of the series. serves not only as a chilling auditory backdrop, but as a metaphorical lens through which the film's core themes of endurance, inevitability, and loss of humanity can be examined. Taylor Holmes' reading of Boots is hauntingly evocative and is what we hear, transforming the poem's rhythmic repetition into a chilling auditory centerpiece that perfectly complements the trailer's apocalyptic tone. His delivery enhances the poem's themes of exhaustion, futility, and madness, creating a layered experience for the viewer. This recording, which was already scary enough, is combined with the standard set of horror trailer sounds to create a breakneck pace of terror and decay. Taylor Holmes' powerful recitation serves as a visceral rupture in his otherwise subdued recitation of Kipling's poem, amplifying the trailer's ideas of despair and chaos as everything comes crashing down. His screeching near the end shatters the monotony of his prior rhythmic delivery, symbolizing the breaking point of human endurance and the raw, primal emotions of fear, rage, or despair. Layered with the trailer's escalating soundscape, it becomes an auditory height that mirrors the escalating violence and disorder on screen. Holmes' steady outburst blurs the line between human and monster, a person trying to stay sane despite the hell around them, underscoring the fragility of humanity in the face of pure, unending survival. This moment breaks the monotone of the poem in the beginning, but keeps with its rhythmic frame, driving into the viewer with every single note, despite how disconnected it becomes, leading to an unforgettable sound that leaves a lasting emotional impact. This trailer was something really special, and I think that the amount of praise it has received proves that. This trailer is one of the best we've seen in a long, long time, perfectly crafted to intrigue and to terrify.